Daisy, yes, I'm talking about you, Daisy. Daisy here has some separation anxiety. Now, I just got done spending about an hour or so talking about how we can incorporate rules and structure to help her, help basically remove the burden of responsibility from her shoulders. A lot of people, they don't have any rules for their dogs. They pet their dogs whenever the dogs demand attention. After a while, that creates a dog that thinks that it's in charge of us, but we don't act like followers as humans. So that stresses the dog out even more, and they feel like they're responsible for us. All these things stress the dog out, and just like us, we don't operate the best when we're under stress, neither do dogs. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the things you can do to help if you have a dog that has separation anxiety. Now, separation anxiety, a true case of separation anxiety, the dog will not eat. You could leave a steak in the floor in your room, and the dog won't have any interest in it. A lot of times they'll chew up the molding around your door, scratch it, or the wall. They're trying to get through either because they feel incomplete when you're not around, or they want to go and protect you. They feel like you need their protection. Now, a lot of this is, like I said, due to a lack of rules and structure, which we've already addressed. So if you have a dog with separation anxiety, the first question I would ask you is, what rules does your dog have? So the other thing is not encouraging your dog to get overexcited. When we come home, if the dog is jumping and spazzing out and we pet the dog, we're rewarding the dog for being in an unbalanced state of mind. So if your dog is overexcited, it's nice to come home and have somebody recognize and appreciate that you're home. Significant other's like, hey, honey, and the dog like freaks out. We're like, I'm going to give the dog attention. But over time, this will amplify it over and over and over again, and it makes it much, much worse. So when you come home, if your dog's all excited to see you, ignore your dog. Wait for your dog to settle down. When it settles down, start reaching for it. If you reach for it, it gets up and starts wiggling, pull your arm back. Don't tell it no, just walk away. The idea is I'm only going to engage with you when you've got 4 on the floor and you're nice and calm. As soon as you show any excitement, I lose interest. And if you are precise with your abort, eventually the dog will learn, I just got to stay calm, and then I'm going to get scratched behind the ear and on my chest and my butt and all my favorite places. All right, now for separation anxiety, usually the dogs recognize what we call triggers. And these are things that occur before we actually leave the house. So the guardian here does not do this when she leaves, but it's important if you're watching this at home. If you are leaving, don't tell your dog, it's okay, Daisy, I'm going to leave and I want you to be a good girl. I know it's going to be really hard, but please be a good girl. Don't chew up my new slippers. And the dog doesn't know what you're saying anyways, but you're making a big deal out of the leaving, and that can create a problem as well. So when you leave, just leave quietly. Now, one of Daisy's triggers is she doesn't get left in a kennel. She is put in the kitchen, and some baby gates are left up. So we're going to transition to that room here in a second. But now Daisy recognizes when I'm put in the kitchen, that means my guardian's going to leave me. A lot of people have this with their dog's kennel. They only put their dog in the kennel when they leave the house. The kennel represents being restrained and being left alone. So you want to practice these things at times when you're not going to leave. And we call this desensitizing. Now, I like to use dog psychology and positive reinforcement to solve dog problems. I have some high-value, tricky trainers, which the treats that I like to use, there's chicken liver. They have a very strong aroma. As you can see, I got very good attention for the dog anytime I'm in front of her. Yes, I said that. You're going to get a lot of these, so I can't give it to you for no reason. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go into the kitchen, and what I'm going to do is toss the treat in, let her go into the kitchen. We're going to say a word. I'm going to say kitchen. Do you have a word that you would like to use for that? I like to use fun command words. So the guardian may want to change this from kitchen to restaurant or Cabo or whatever you want to say. Try to come up with something that will put a smile on someone's face. So so let's go ahead and we'll transition there, and I'll show you this stage, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about separation anxiety as the video goes on. So I'm just going to come over here. She knows that I have the treat, so she's very interested in me. Maybe come and stay right over here. Mm-hmm. All right. Hopefully this isn't too backlit. Can you see me, or am I washed out?
You're good.
Okay. So I'm in the kitchen, and she's out because her guardian's out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to offer the treat. I'm going to toss it in the kitchen and say kitchen. Now, if your dog won't go in the kitchen, then toss it right here. And then next one here, 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 here. Eventually you have it like over here, and the dog won't even walk. They'll just be like leaning way in to get it. That's fine. The whole point of this exercise, we want to keep doing this until the dog goes into the kitchen on their own volition without any hesitation. And again, when you do this, I would have maybe about 5 to 7 treats. Wait for her to leave. Do the same thing. Kitchen. And I'm waiting for her to leave before I give her the next one. I don't want to call her out because the whole point is we want her to want to be in the kitchen. Right? All right, so if I'm going to pretend like I'm walking away, she comes back out. Kitchen. So I'm throwing these further and further into the kitchen to reward her for doing it. And you can see she doesn't have any hesitation. Now I'm guessing if her guardian was doing this, there would probably be some hesitation because the only time she puts me in the kitchen is when she's about to leave. Now I'm going to reward her kitchen because she went in there on her own volition, which is after you start repeating this, the dog should start doing this. You just want to make sure you say the word kitchen every time after it goes into her lips. Now there's a couple other things we can do. A lot of times the only time the dog is putting the kitchen like this is when the human is leaving. Now, as I talked off camera to the guardian, most of us actually, we don't have the dog practice these things, and so the dog starts to associate it. Like I was talking earlier about a dog park. A lot of times the only time we call our dog to come at the dog park is when we're leaving. So that's what we're teaching the dog, that come means the end of playtime. So what we want to do is do this several times a day, kitchen, without it being associated with that. Now there's some other things that we can do, helping the dog practice being in the kitchen when we're home. So one of the things you might want to do is bully sticks are great. She likes bully sticks, but a really high value item, kitchen, would be a marrow bone. Now marrow bones, you can get them, for her size, I want to get one that's about a 1/2 inch or an inch. If you go to the green spot in Omaha, which is just down the street from here, they sell them there. Now they'll be frozen, kitchen. So don't let them defrost, and don't hold on too long. You get a pack of 3, make sure you give it to the dog. So what I would want you to do is put the marrow bone in the kitchen. It'll take a minute or 2 to defrost, and then kind of sit here, leave it over there. Now some people will actually take a drill and drill through the marrow because it's frozen, so it'll be hard, and then take a zip tie and zip it. A lot of people do this for kennels. Zip it in the back of the kennel, leave the kennel door open. So the only time I can actually eat this kitchen is being in the kennel, but we leave the kennel door open, and we only do this when the human's home. So now doesn't mean the human's leaving. It means if I go in here, I get the best chew toy I have ever had in my life. So we let her go in there and and don't let her leave the kitchen with it. If you have to, you can move the baby gate, but sit on the floor right here so she can see you. You're lending moral support. It'd be better just to use the third escalated consequence I went over with you off camera to get her to come in there. Kitchen. And then let her start chewing on it. Now, if you're able to do it without the baby gate up, once she starts chewing and she's gotten into the chew for a minute or 2, let me grab the baby gate, put it back and install it, and then just stay right here. So the idea is we want her to get so into the marrow bone that she wants to come over. Now, if you move this and she loses interest in the marrow bone, then go back to doing this with this away, and just don't let her exit the kitchen. And what you want to do is give her a chance to get into the marrow bone, and if she looks away and you want to kind of maybe sit at have the chair pulled out here, very quietly get up and sit down. So you're moving a little bit further away, a little bit further away. And she only gets to chew on the marrow bone while she's in here. And then after about 5 minutes, go in here, take the gate down if you're using it, or if not, just come in here, take the marrow bone away. Now, if she doesn't want to give the marrow bone, you might want to trade. Hold up a treat like this, wait for her to drop the marrow bone, and when she drops, put it in her mouth and say drop, then pick up the marrow bone, put it back in the freezer or whatever it is. I would probably, and then put it back in the freezer and let it freeze. The idea is every time I go in here, something tremendously good happens, and my human's not leaving me. So we're helping them to practice being in this room without all these things that are going on that normally trigger a response from her. I'm going to ask you to put down your pad and paper if you could. And I'm going to have the guardian come in here, and she's going to kind of do the same thing that I'm doing. We'll see if she gets the same response. I'm going to kind of move off camera and just keep on shooting her.
Kitchen.
Perfect. And we're going to wait for her to come out. Now your keys are in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay, so for a lot of dogs, I'll come over here, and if she comes out, then throw another treat in there. For a lot of dogs, it's the little things that we do before we leave that actually trigger the response.
Kitchen.
So for a lot of dogs, it's picking up keys. If you're a woman or a man that likes wearing a purse, picking up the purse also could be the same sort of thing. Your sunglasses, sitting down in a specific place and putting on your shoes, or any of these things. After a while, the dog sees that series of things happening and knows, oh, that means that they're about to leave. So we want to kind of deprogram the dog for this by basically helping the dog practice these things without the association of us leaving. And so do them one at a time. Don't try to do them all at once. So if it's keys, walk over where your keys are, pick them up, put them down. Pick them up, put them down, and then leave the room. And then come back a minute later and do the same thing again. So now that every time the dog hears that, it doesn't mean that I'm losing, the human's going to leave me. All right, so now we've gotten this gone. So let's go in the kitchen and go ahead and grab your keys. Now if she comes in the kitchen, then drop a treat. Now normally she likes to go and hide underneath the couch. So you see she's not going in there. All right, just go ahead and call her.
Daisy.
Give her a treat and say kitchen.
Kitchen.
Excellent. All right, put your keys back down. Come out of the kitchen. Just walk over here, do a circle, and then come right back out and do the same thing. Now, I'm having you just turn right here. I'd probably have you go and sit down on the couch when you're doing this later. I would call her first, then pick up your keys.
Okay. Daisy.
So toss them in the middle of the floor.
Kitchen.
Now put your keys down and leave. Somebody is so excited that we're not leaving. All right, let's come back in and do it again. Now, can you step over the baby gate?
Sometimes.
Okay. Go ahead and toss one. Don't pick up your keys. Just toss one in the back corner by the deal. Come over here.
Kitchen.
Grab the baby gate and put it up. Tell her to sit.
Sit.
Hold up your hand. And toss it. Kitchen. Do it again.
Kitchen.
Excellent. Walk over here. Just turn. Once you get it. So we're going just out of the sight. Turn around. Come back. Tell her to sit.
Sit.
Give her a treat when she does.
Kitchen.
Go ahead and pull this up. Put it back. Go on in. Toss another treat.
Kitchen.
Pick up your keys. Toss a treat.
I'm out of treats.
Okay. Luckily, I have more. There you go.
Thanks.
So put your keys down. Pick them up noisily. Toss a treat.
Kitchen.
Put them back down. Toss a treat. And then leave the room.
Kitchen.
So the idea for this is we want to kind of create a more positive association and help the dog understand just because the keys get picked up or the baby gate goes out, we're not going to necessarily, the human isn't necessarily leaving. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do these together. I'm doing this for the brevity of having one video, but you might want to do maybe just focus, one time just on the keys. Think about 5 or 6 times leaving the, pick it up, leave the room. The same thing, and then come back maybe an hour later and we do the baby gate, just by the baby gate. If there are other things, if you have a sack lunch, you go to the refrigerator, pull out your sack lunch, recreate it as realistically as you can so the dog can practice all these things. Now, I also talked about we have a fence that might not be completely secure, so the guardian doesn't put her out in the backyard very much. I like her to secure the backyard. We need the dog to practice being alone. Kitchen. And so being outside in the backyard, there's a lot of stimulation out there. So there's a lot of distractions and things for the dog to enjoy doing. So if we can get the dog used to spending some time alone, at first with the human just kind of sitting by the back door, let the dogs explore. When the dog kind of walks a little bit further away, is behind a shrub or whatever, we quietly come inside the door. And Daisy's like, give me attention. And then close the door, but be standing right there. So when she comes back, she sees that we're there. As soon as she sees, before she gets a chance to panic the first couple times, as soon as she sees and comes over, open the door, go back out there, give her a treat, sit down, wait for her to kind of go do her own thing. Repeat that process. So we want to understand that just because I'm, not necessarily with you doesn't mean that I'm leaving you. And I come back out and you get a treat and it's a good positive association. Now again, the marrow bones and other positive things that you're going to give to her in here, she should only get when she's in here, and you should increase the length of time that she's chewing on these. We want to hopefully get to the point where she gets so into the marrow bone, she gets mad that you come in, because when you come in, that means you're taking away the marrow bone. She's like, can you go to work or something and let me finish this marrow bone? And that's the whole point, what we're looking for in the end. Daisy. So this is the sort of hesitation you usually get for a dog that's been forced into a kennel or something like that. Daisy. Now, a dog's eyes are great for movement. So if I throw it in there, let's see if that'll. Now, if you notice what I'm not doing is I'm not over encouraging her to go in there. It's in there. But for whatever reason, she's decided, no, I'm not going in there because my guardian just went and did those stuff, and now she's over there. I'm going to stay next to the guardian because the keys have been picked up, the gate has been picked up. Those are usually indications that she's going to leave. So that's probably what's going on here. So we want to do this at several times throughout the day when we're not going to work. So that way when we get to the point where we go through the same process going to work, it just seems normal. Now we could actually, once we've gotten her used to the marrow bones, after you go through about 3 or 4 marrow bones, then you can actually try doing that, leaving a marrow bone before you go to work. Do the same exact process, sit here at your table, get a coffee, read a little bit of the paper. When she gets really in the marrow bone, if she turns her back to you, very quietly get up and walk away. Maybe just sit on the couch over here. This would be a good one to do where you're not actually leaving it first. But eventually it gets to the point where we put it in, give her a marrow bone, and we actually leave the house, and she just sits in there and chews in the marrow bone. All right, these are some tips and tricks that you can use for a dog that has separation anxiety.